Well, good evening and thank you all for coming. I'm going to call this meeting to order. This meeting of the Library Building Committee is a hybrid meeting, so we will have a roll call of our participants. I'm going to have everybody introduce themselves. I'll start with you, Tom.
Hi, Tom Pendleton, Vice Chair.
Joe,
Okay, Joseph LeBrecq, circulation staff, Yarmouth Town Libraries.
I am Phoebe Atchison, the acting director of the Yarmouth Town Libraries.
Judy Connors Tarver, I'm the chair of the meeting.
Susan Britta, planning board representative. I forget who I am sometimes.
John Greco, construction representative.
Okay, and so we do have a quorum, and we're going to start with our housekeeping and approval of the minutes. So I have the wrong thing in front of me. There it is. So we need to approve minutes from August 13th, which was the two sessions. And I'm going to hold the one for the afternoon session because we started without a quorum. And then Vicky arrived and created a quorum. And so I'm not sure exactly what we need to do about that. So we'll hold those. And then if we can go to the evening session of August 13th, that was the outreach meeting. And that one we did start with a quorum. Did anyone have any comments, corrections on those minutes?
No,
No, not hearing anything. I thought I had one. I guess I did not. Okay, no, I didn't have anything on that one either. I have a motion to approve the minutes of August 13th for the evening session,
Evening session.
7 to 9 o'clock.
So moved.
Thank you, Susan. A second.
Second.
Thank you, John. So we have to do a roll call vote, because we're in a hybrid meeting. So, Tom,
aye.
John,
Aye.
Susan,
Aye.
aye. Opposed? Abstained. Okay, motion carried. And then we're going to skip to the minutes for August 28, our last meeting. I only had one, which was that David Aarons's name was misspelled, but I didn't have any real content problems. Did anybody else have any comments on the August 28th?
Not here. Mhm.
Okay, so can we have a motion to approve the minutes as corrected?
Motion to approve the minutes as corrected.
Thanks, Tom. Second,
Second.
thank you, Susan. And so now we have to do the roll call again. I'll start with you again, Tom.
Aye.
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 And I have to vote tonight, so aye. Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. All right, so that's our minutes, and we'll see these again, the 13th. The open meetings training update was just that we have to have all of our votes be roll call. And Susan brought that up to me after our last meeting. So that was just a point of order, and we will follow that from now on. So we'll move into public comment. Is anybody online who would like to comment? No? No? Okay. Linda, did you want to comment here? Or do you want to wait?
To do the fundraising thing now, or do you?
I think here is better, yes, thank you.
So I just continue doing more research. Linda Callahan, member of the public, doing more research on how we can create the entity that would accept donations for a capital campaign, fundraising campaign. And I have two questions for you, Judy. I don't know if you'd be able to do them to confirm for us going forward. If you can find out from administration if they have a timeline as to when we create this entity and when they would need to get funds from it to be able to use.
Okay,
And then the second one, which is related, do they have a figure in mind that they are expecting to get from the fundraising? I did mention what was mentioned as a 2.5, but I also want to confirm that the figures that we're using are the ones that the town is working with. And they are part of that funding scenario that was created by Bill Scott and attached to the application. And from talking with Jane Kane, she said that members of the administration have copies of all of that.
sure.
Okay, so that would be helpful for us to know, like, how much time we have to get things going and when we have to be ready.
Okay,
Um,
thank you.
And then I've just been pursuing whatever leads I could get. I Googled, just to start with, to get a good idea. I've talked with people at Mass Attorney General's office, the Secretary of State's office, found out what they need to get from us, you know,
Mhm.
when we decide what to do. I've also talked with people from Mass Board of Library Commissioners, both Andrea and Al Hayden, and she works with a lot of the Friends groups and foundations. And Andrea was able to confirm or to explain better the funding equation of what MBLC by regulation is able to provide. They can't provide any more than 75% of eligible costs. So therefore, what has to come from the public is no less than 25%. But that is included from whatever the town bond is and fundraising.
Right.
So the fundraising part could vary,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and then I needed to get that clear in my head as to what this percentage was.
Yeah, that's important. Thank
Right.
you.
They also suggested, when I spoke with Al about fundraising, her suggestion was for libraries and friends groups perhaps that don't have people that they can draw from to create, say, a separate foundation or a building fund or another 501c3. Might want to go with foundation, community foundation, thinking Cape Cod Foundation.
Wow.
We did talk with them in 2019, but I don't know if it's still the same as to what they can offer us and exactly how, once money is put in, how do you get it back?
Mhm.
Funds that you donate and they invest, they have a spending policy, so you can get that amount back. But if we needed to get a greater percentage, would we have any trouble? How do we go through that if we decide to go with them? So it's still at the point where we're trying to decide, do we create another building fund, foundation, whatever you decide to call it? Make sure that it's very clear to the public when they donate that they are donating to something entirely separate from the library in town, but it is a separate thing, and keep very good records. I got some names of other libraries that have foundations. I've looked up to see what they consider to be their mission. And I haven't talked with anybody yet. This was just a couple of days ago, but I can contact them and see, you know, what did they do? How did they do it? Did it work easily? Let's see. Oh, I also got a reference for a network that does pro bono, keeps track of law firms that do pro bono work.
Mhm.
And I have a call scheduled with their representative for tomorrow afternoon.
Wow.
And so, and then we met with two of the people from Eastham that their whole situation was very different in who had power and who had money to start the project. Exactly. And
It's not
so,
always the way.
yes, exactly. So their board of trustees had monies. They're elected by the community. So it's just different in the way they can create things. They had to become, I don't believe they were a 501c3, so they had to become a 501c3. So all of these different things, there's so many moving parts to it. So we gathered all that information, and let me see if there's anything else. Gotten some, the people from MBLC were extremely helpful and very willing to have any questions, you know, that we, and I found them to be that way every time that I've contacted them, both Andrea and Al. And they suggested Celeste Bruno, who is, she does a lot of the messaging for MBLC, and she could possibly be helpful to us in when we're trying to get word out to the public and how we want to word things.
Oh, nice.
And I have lots of notes from the folks from Eastham in how they worded things and, you know, how they tried to emphasize the positive and not the negative, and that it was for the whole community and things like that. So
Mhm.
lots of information to draw from. And so I'm also going to bring it to Silas
Mhm.
board meeting on Monday to talk about it, to get their response to the idea of if we did it, if some other entity does it, you know, how they're feeling. I've reached out to West Yarmouth Library Association, and I finally heard back from Pam, and she had sent an email out to the members there to see if they do want to get together and talk about. She worded it fundraising. I wrote back and said, not just fundraising, but that we all know everything at the same time and that somehow work together.
Mhm.
So that's what I've been since the last time we met.
Thank you. I think we'll put,
Mhm.
Oh, got it.
so I think we'll put you on the agenda officially, so you don't have to be in the public comment part next time.
Judy, can I ask a question?
Sure thing,
So
thank you.
So it seems that we have a choice now on fundraising mechanisms. We could do a separate, the foundation idea, that would be separate from the Friends of South Yarmouth and the Friends of West Yarmouth. That would be a different entity,
So
Yeah.
you'd have to create,
another
structure.
one.
Yeah.
And that foundation, would that be for fundraising for all capital projects or just the library?
you decide. You could have
Okay.
something that would end at the time of the end of construction and everything, or
Okay.
some of the foundations that I've read about, they have a very similar mission to what we have as South Yarmouth Library Association. And yes, they do use their money for the big projects, but I'm not sure whether some of these libraries might be private libraries too, and
Mhm.
not get most of their funding from the town. So it varies. That's what you have to look into to see, well, in our situation, what would be the best way to do it?
Right.
But for this project alone, we have to have something, a 501(c) that can do fundraising and accept donations, and then have people that can keep all the records.
Mhm.
Did they seem to indicate one method over is better than another? They
No,
didn't.
it all depended
It's up to
upon
how you want to do it.
your organization, how you related
Okay.
to the town, like our library board is appointed. So it's advisory only, and so they don't have any money, whereas Eastham had
Very
money.
different, yeah.
And they actually loaned the town money and then were paid back.
Mhm.
But that was a foundation, wasn't it? They started a foundation
Well,
for
they
fundraising.
building fund too,
Yeah.
Biffy,
El
Biffy.
Biffy.
Yeah,
Did
so
you speak with Al Alfano
Al and Mary,
and Mary Shaw?
they were wonderful. Yeah, wonderful. And they did a whole presentation.
Oh my
So they've got
gosh.
good copies of their slide presentation, and they're very willing to come and talk to us. They actually work with Snow Library.
Mhm.
And, you know,
Wow.
so their language, the way they approached it, he's a former teacher. Mary is a numbers person.
Mhm.
So they were very complimentary in their skills, and so they're very willing to come and talk to us in any way.
Okay,
They were pretty successful too in
Yeah.
their fundraising.
But they didn't have to raise as much. And they were
True.
only doing a
It's true.
construction grant.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was two separate grants at that point in time.
Yeah.
Can't believe it's 2016
I know.
that it was done, yeah.
Wow.
So there's a lot of people out there that are willing to help us. We just have to figure out what's the best way for us to do it.
Okay, and so I'm thinking if that materializes, that presentation really has, the audience for that is really the South Yarmouth and West Yarmouth Library Association and not this committee. Okay. Great. Thank you. Any other public comment? Okay, we'll move on. So Mary Alice and I went back and forth on the agenda, and I guess I wasn't clear. So we're skipping number 6 because it's repeated as number 8. And the big news is what's been going on with the site. So this interval since last we all assembled has been quite busy. So you're all aware of the situation of the site potentially not being available to us. And so I'm going to call it the snowball phone call that I had with Jen and Tim, which then, while we were talking, Heather, who was covering for Andrea because she was on vacation, I think here on the Cape, called. So we added her into the call, and then Matt decided to send an email. So we decided to add him into the call. So we were kicking around the possibilities that we could deal with the restrictions that we knew about at that time. But because we had a lot of more input there because of having Heather on the phone from MBLC, we got clarification on what could possibly work. So last time we kind of said, let's just accept the fact that we have to move over to the other parcel and hope that that's maybe not true, but the attorney rendered a one sentence, or it was two sentences, opinion, which is not binding by any means, saying, looks like since it was used as a playground, that would come under the Article 97 protections. And so we needed to move over onto the second parcel, or the eastmost parcel. And then we needed to talk with MBLC about how this related to our application. So they will not consider another site, but because our site was actually both parcels, we're not changing site. So we're kind of covered by that. So that was good. That was a good news. And then there are a number of restrictions because of MBLC. So on the site, we could use the area over by the Bridgewater State Building. The grant will not cover renovations or adjustments to an existing building. It is for new construction only. So I want you to just keep that in your brain, all right? So it is for new construction only. New construction could include tearing down Bridgewater and building something, opening up the site a little bit for new construction. So here's another fact to bear in mind. That building just had extensive renovations in 2022. And there's a lot of, people like that building, and there's a little emotional attachment to it. So there's that. MBLC will only pay for one design. So that's the pressure on Matt, is to have one design that we can submit by December. And they will not pay for an assessment of the MacArthur building. So that's not something they'll do. A feasibility study for reuse of the MacArthur building depends on how intense we want to get. If we're looking at a structural assessment, of course, that would be less. And if we are going with all the subs and looking at electrical and HVAC and plumbing and
Code, envelope, all of the disciplines.
goes on. Are you going to cover all this, Joy?
I can.
Yeah, okay, so that's a much more extensive study, and it would probably lead to this building probably is not eligible for that. And I guess my take on it was it would be hard to find an architect who would want to do that project. And
And the grant
we would
wouldn't pay for
lose the
it.
grant. So it would drive up cost. I personally, I don't see that as something that would play well with the community. So, and I think there's also a buzz out there. I'm not personally aware of it, but if you've seen anything on social media, I'm hearing that there's a movement out there not to do any library at all. So then.
I will confirm that.
Thank
Yes.
you. Okay. So then on September 9th. Well, Jen then wrote a very lovely summary of all of what was going on. And then on September 9, Phoebe, Tom, Matt, Jen, and I met with Bob about, and I'm sorry, Jay, and Jay was there.
You're doing a wonderful summary, I'm telling you. Thank you.
remember all this information.
And we kind of, those of us who had been on the snowball call, kind of had filled in Bob and were looking for some guidance from him. And basically what I got out of that meeting from him was this position of the attorney, and their study's not, and we've known this, it's not, they're not gonna have their opinion until December, and that's just way too late. We can't wait if we're going forward with the grant and the requirements of the grant. So,
But the preliminary determination was pretty damning.
it sure
That was
was.
not a
Yeah.
hopeful message.
No, it
That's what I
wasn't.
was gonna ask.
Yeah.
I mean, what's the difference between the preliminary and what could happen?
Not
I
much.
don't know. And the problem is we don't have the time.
Yeah.
We don't have the time, no.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so Matt has probably a much more interesting presentation.
Can I
Um,
just clarify something?
Sure.
So both the Bridgewater building and the school are off, generally speaking, right now would be off the table.
That's the
We
same,
wouldn't be able to.
The
it's
same building.
same building.
All right, so you're only talking about the Bridgewater State Building. All right, and that's the one we talked about last time.
Yeah.
The
It used
school
to
is
be the MacArthur
untouchable.
School.
Right, okay.
The
and
MacArthur School became the Bridgewater State
Yeah,
Building.
it's only one building. Yeah,
Hey, Judy?
Yeah.
Just for clarification, I think we ought to clarify for the general public and if other people in the room, what Article 97 really means and what it entails and why it's causing us issues, because it's very, I don't think anybody except us who have learned about it recently know what Article 97 is and why it causes so many problems.
keep going, Tom.
I'm not a lawyer, but anyway. So if anything how do you call it, tagged as Article 97, in other words, it cannot be used for anything but that purpose. And this primarily revolves around open space and recreation. So that if the town is designated a particular piece of property as Article 97, the only way to get it removed, I believe, is to go to the state legislature, and it has to have a vote, I believe, of 2/3 of each house, the Senate and the House, to have that removed. And we all know that in this day and age, that's not going to happen between now and December. So
Right.
Right,
So I guess,
okay.
so are we 100% sure the town has considered it Article 97?
We're close enough for me.
Town
Yeah,
council has, as you
Yeah,
said.
town council has weighed in.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And it has, the evidence has to be profound. It has to be very clear that it is not a 97. Right now, the information is going in the other direction.
Right.
It's moving way more toward a 97 than away from it,
Mhm,
which is not a good movement for our point of view.
right.
Right.
And 97 is part of the general law. That's the article. It's part of general, that's what people, what article, they think of it as a news article.
Mass
It's
General
not.
Law. Yeah,
It's general law.
And there were a
It's Mass
number of
General law.
articles that have been, I assume, sent to you that show the town appropriating money and
Yes.
Yeah,
really expressing the intent for 90+ years.
yes, right. And then the other aspect of that is, oh, well, could we go back and do our site selection over? And there has to be a very compelling reason that this was an unforeseen circumstance. So that case would be one that would have to be made, and it would have to go before the MBLC, and their next meeting isn't until October 9th, which is 2 days after we're presenting to the select board. So then we would be waiting for them to say, yes, you can change the site. And then we would have to go through site selection.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's not time to get.
no,
the
there's
design.
not time to do all of that. So that's another wrinkle, just so. that-
So, may I interject for just a moment, just so I'm clear? So is this all because Simpkins was a Simpkins school? And that was a playground and a,
No, it has
Yeah.
nothing to do with the school.
No,
It
the
has to
school.
do with-
what is it? What
It
is
has to
uh,
do with the Joshua Sears
Sears.
Memorial Playground.
Oh,
That's what we're
playground.
talking about.
Okay,
Yep.
all right.
Yeah, so Simpkins, they're kind of just there.
Okay.
Okay, all right, so I'm gonna let Matt present what the challenges and opportunities are from his perspective.
Right. Big enough for everybody? Not if I can make it any bigger.
Good.
So, following Judy's. One second. There we go. Okay. So following Judy's recap, and just to remind everybody, this is the overview of the combined property that the MBLC thinks we are building on. It's comprised of two parcels, parcel 50 and parcel 60. The line, the dividing line in the middle, you can see. The second dashed line on the parcel 60 site is the zoning setback. So I believe it was 15 feet in the front. I think 5 on the side, 15 in the back. So there's a lot of area. This is a big combined parcel, 16, 17 acres, something like that. But right in the middle of parcel 60 is the MacArthur School. So I think everybody agrees, though, that parcel 50 we can't entertain given the uncertainty. So we have to shift focus to parcel 60. So we started thinking in the office, okay, what do we think about that property? Where could we build? So the first area that we looked at was this triangle of space between parcel 50 and the access road. It is technically on parcel 60. It's not very big. It is right where that stand of trees is that we were kind of arranged in the library around previously. So it would require wiping out all of those trees to make it happen. In addition, if you look at the limit of the contiguous Joshua Sears playground area, there is this triangle of clear space that is actually on parcel 60, but contiguous with the rest of the field. Without any documentation, we don't know if that is considered part of the Joshua Sears playground or not. So I think that to us is a red flag with this particular area, not to mention the fact that you try to fit a 24,000 square foot library on there and it very clearly starts to feel like an imposition on the MacArthur building, school building, but also the site just doesn't seem big enough to have a library plus parking and all the things you need. If we push it up to the street, it becomes a very sort of broad footprint that I think would be difficult to lay out. Not a lot of space to put parking. Plus we have this kind of questionable overlap of the open space.
Now,
So-
why are you questioning the overlap there? Did
Well,
you-
only because, if you stand out there and you're standing where my cursor is, right here. By the way, there's a
we're
monument
there.
here that
Right,
says
okay.
Joshua Sears
Yeah.
Playground
Yes,
next to the flagpole.
Yep.
In front of the old school building. So this is standing here is no different than standing here. It's the same open space, same field. To me, that feels like part of this larger open space. We don't have any documentation that delineates the boundary. I think I've heard acreage mentioned, and that acreage may be slightly different, but this is also a new parking lot. So who knows if this parking lot took space away from what used to be playground open space and nobody knew any better at the time. To me, this is a red flag. I would steer clear, not to mention the fact that it just seems too small. So
Plus there's a monument and flag there.
there's a monument.
So one would
Right,
think they would
yeah.
not have put it there if it were not, if they did not consider it. part of the
Exact-
playground.
that-
But I'm gonna, based upon them going over the parking lot, I'm not sure we can understand any of what they did or didn't do.
Right.
And if you go back to the old historical records, they moved the memorial from down south up there.
top.
So two wrongs still could be wrong, or could be right. We don't know.
Unless they assumed that was their property.
Yeah, well,
So we don't know that.
we don't know. I guess as Matt said, it's a
But
question
red flag
mark.
is a good.
I
It's a
think,
question mark.
I think the deck is stacked against that site. I think it's too small. I think it is at odds with the MacArthur School Building, and there's this question. It's not just because of that
Mhm.
overlap. There are multiple reasons why we don't think that it makes sense. Even if you move the access road, I just don't think it's big enough to really work. So then we were looking at, this nice flat area back here behind the MacArthur School Building. And the challenge we see here, it's big enough, certainly. I mean, you can easily fit a 24,000 square foot library in there plus parking. But where do you put it? And no matter where you put it, it's behind the MacArthur Building. It's not, it's a little bit awkward, frankly, for a civic building to be kind of back here behind this other building that is a little bit hard to find.
Uh-huh.
It doesn't have anything to do with Route 28. And so it's a possibility, but it just doesn't feel like that's a strong candidate in our mind. So that basically leaves this area of the site as based on what we just looked at, our preferred area of focus. So you dig a little deeper there and you see that there is a pretty big ravine. This is why it's still wooded, probably. That ravine actually crosses over the access road. So the access road was filled to allow access from Route 28, I'm guessing, into the MacArthur Building whenever that was built. So you can see this depression over here was probably at one point contiguous with this larger ravine in this corner of the site. The good news is that it's not a wetland. As far as the existing site report goes. The challenges are obvious. There's a lot of topography, there's a lot of vegetation. And if you look at it more closely, it's a little hard to see in this image, but there's this red line here is essentially the top of the ravine. So this is the kind of upper lip of the ravine. So when you look at that contour, and everything now shaded in yellow is generally level. I mean, there's a couple 1 or 2 feet of grade change in there, but it's similar in topography to this area, which is generally flat. And so all of a sudden you've eroded a pretty good bit of that site area. Not that you need all of that site for a library. Nevertheless, we still think that there is something about this part of the property closer to Route 28 in front of the MacArthur Building, not behind it, that had some potential. And so we started playing around with trying to fit pieces in here. And so we took some of the, I'm gonna try and blow this up a little bit.
Can Joe do that there?
Is that a little bigger?
Yes.
A little better? Okay. So we started playing around with some of these pieces, a children's wing, adult wing, community, lobby, staff, and seeing if we could fit it and get it mostly in the yellow. And in the case of the community space, this is actually coming just south of that line that we had established. And there are a few things to point out here. One, we think we can get it to fit. Two, we think that it's important that whatever we do here has strong pedestrian connections to the street, to the town common, which is what this dashed line is representing. I think whatever we do here needs to have connections to the area around it to make it feel grounded, to make it feel accessible and welcoming. It is also, you can see these sort of darker shaded areas here and here. That's where the building is starting to go beyond the limit of that red line. So it's going off the lip of the ravine. So in those shaded areas, the grade is falling away underneath, which we actually think could be really kind of cool and special. And to have, if you imagine that context in there as this kind of secret enclave that you discover when you move through the library, you come in, there's plenty of room here for parking, but you come into the building, you don't really have a sense of this until you're in it or through it. And to go into those spaces and have that kind of discovery, I think would make for a really special environment. I think that it's certainly doable from a construction standpoint. I mean, either it has a foundation that it cantilevers off of, or it has, piles that go all the way down, and it's sort of treehouse-like, and I'll show you a couple of precedents. So we continued to develop this a little bit, and there we go. So so this imagines that we're maintaining trees around the perimeter. This would all have to get cleared out to some degree. A lot of the understory stuff would have to come out. We'd have to, and some selective tree removal. But I think we want to maintain as much of the sort of larger substantial trees as possible. Ideally, the condition as you drive along here is that you can see through this, more like this stand of trees, which I don't know how familiar you guys are, but if you go out there, and I have a couple of photos, I can show you a comparison. This feels much more open and aerated. There's no understory. It's just trees and kind of grass, a little bit of understory. But it has a kind of, even though it looks dense in plan, it has a kind of
You can
openness.
see the school through it, for example.
That's
Yeah,
right. And
yeah.
so I think you could have a similar kind of condition here where the library comes out enough to assert itself on the street. You can see it on Route 28. You can actually, it's a little hard to read these arrows. I'm sorry, this color, but so there's an arrow here that we were thinking maybe there's a pathway that gets you in along that side of the building. There's already a sidewalk along the access road that comes, turns, and then stops.
Yeah.
About here. That could be extended to provide easy access from the street down to
Pedestrian,
the
yeah.
entrance.
Just-
Pedestrian.
Just pedestrian.
Yeah. In terms of vehicular access, obviously the access road would stay. I think it's really unfortunate right now that the MacArthur School building is surrounded by asphalt, and we see this a lot with buildings, and we try to undo this in so many different contexts that it's terrible for a building to have roadway all around it, because it's an island. You have no access from that building, easy access from that building to outdoor space. And so I think clarifying vehicular circulation, eliminate that road along the backside. So if we come down the access road, turn in here, have expanded parking, it could even be bigger than this. We've got the room that is shared parking between the library and the school building. A separate drop off here for the school, which would allow them to access this entrance easily, which I think, as far as I can tell, seems like the main entrance
that's
for drop off.
Where the- yeah, Mindy would know better than I, but I think that's,
So I think that
what it
could
looks
still
like.
work. The library could have its own drop off, as part of the parking lot. With a kind of, entry plaza that gets you in. We were thinking maybe a covered walkway, not unlike Norwell, where you come in from parking, you quickly get under cover, and then you walk to the front door. So the front door can be a little bit far away from the parking. It doesn't have to be right next to parking. It gives you a little bit of breathing room. And so I think that then tees up this middle space to be pedestrian only and not have vehicles circulating through there, have the school be able to have access to that space that is not this huge field that might, be used for a special event, but and the character of this could be very different too. It's pretty wooded, but there are some larger oaks and things that if you got rid of a lot of the small understory and left the bigger trees, it could be kind of a nice shady area that's a different kind of space than the open field. All of this to say, we think there's potential here. We think the library can fit. We think it can coexist with the MacArthur School building. We think that the project can actually improve aspects of the MacArthur School building. And while we're talking about the MacArthur School building, I will say, so first of all, based on the documentation that you were able
before you
to get-
go,
Yeah.
before you go. I've been thinking about this a lot since the other day. Have you thought about having the access road go to the east of the MacArthur building so that, their existing drop off isn't interrupted, but then they
You're saying have it here.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And so then they have open to the green space from the front and they would come across.
Yeah, I think
And-
that's a possibility too. I think we could look at that with our civil engineer and landscape architect.
Also, they don't have to go through one drop off and the other drop off too. So, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think
Absolutely.
there are options. I think that wherever this goes, I think you want to reduce you want to get rid of that loop.
Yeah.
You want to reduce the amount of paving where we can and kind of make some smart decisions about where traffic is going.
What's on the eastern boundary? Are you contemplating just, is that already mature trees on, going to
Oh,
the motel?
You're talking about along here?
Yes.
I mean, this is everything, this entire thing, and actually, here, let me continue to jump ahead, because I have some photos. Sorry, this one, that one is the next one, okay. There we go. This is rotated 90 degrees, so
Right.
Route 28 is on the right side of the page.
Right.
You can see how heavily
Heavily wooded
vegetated
it
that
is,
is.
yeah.
So there's a lot of clearing to do, and which, is okay. I think a lot of this is junk, frankly. There are some bigger trees that we would want to hang on to, but there's a lot of just brush and kind of small stuff. But there's a pretty robust vegetated buffer between where we are proposing the library and that property. So this whole edge here, we could maintain a lot of existing cover. I mean, there's room to cheat this a little bit to the west
west.
if we feel like we need more buffer. But this is, right now, this is probably 25
Mhm.
feet, I'm guessing. There may be 30 feet. It gets a little tighter down here, but that's,
Right.
I mean, this is
Is
just a
that in,
diagram.
where you are, where it gets tight, is that a residential area to the? east?
These are two residences here.
Okay, but
Yeah.
not nearly as residential as
No.
when we had the problem on the other side, okay.
No. And I think we could, as we get into this, if we agree that this seems like it's got some promise, we'll do some fine tuning of this, obviously, to try to resolve some of those conditions.
Is there a fence there?
There is a fence there, yeah. I was able to, so I went over there today and I got partway in. I could kind of get to the lip of the
Yeah,
ravine. I
yeah.
couldn't go much further.
No.
Flew the drone in, so I have a couple of photos in the forest. It's pretty dense,
Treacherous.
but it's not fun walking through there. There's a lot of like hawthorn and it's pretty awful, actually. But there is a fence here. There's actually a fence that runs sort of along here, kind of, this is pretty wooded right now. And there's a fence that separates the lawn that is just north of the parking lot from that wooded area. So we go again to the photos. So yeah, so there's this group of trees here is sort of on a lawn. It's hard to tell in this photo, but there's lawn that is just to the north of the parking lot. There's a picnic table here. One challenge is there's transformers and probably an emergency generator over here that are not in a great spot. If we get into that, so this is pretty deep in there. But you can imagine that with a little bit of thinning out, it could actually be very pleasant. And it's a world away from Route 28, that's for sure.
Yes.
This is the stand of trees closer to the open field, just to show you the difference.
Yeah.
This one has been managed, I think. It's probably been cleared out. But this is kind of what we're imagining the other one could be with some effort. You get rid of a lot of the brush and clear it out, and it becomes actually, sunlight filters through, and it's a really pleasant space. These are not meant to suggest necessarily architectural style, but just to show you that there's tons of precedent out there for buildings that do this, that kind of hug edges of landforms and project out into them, some more dramatically like the image on the right, some not quite so dramatically like this bottom image. This is actually a museum in Tokyo that's beautiful, and it's in the woods, and you arrive, you go into it, and by the time you're in this room, this is the back side of it. By the time you get there, you feel like you're just sort of immersed in the woods. It's not unlike the approach that we took in Norwell, where and that, by the way, that had a lot of clearing also to get that
Mm.
building to fit in that context. It was a 7,000 square foot building, completely surrounded by woods, like woods right up to it, and we built a 21,000 square foot building on that property. So there were a lot of trees taken down, but it's doable, and we worked with Conservation Commission to do it in a way that made sense and that was responsible. So I think that's all workable. But I think this gives you a sort of flavor of what we think you could do.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
In terms of architecture, what impact does this kind, because it seems this is the kind of design we would have to be considering. What impact does that have on construction costs?
I don't know. That's a good question, and it's something that we would talk to our estimator about. We do have a conceptual estimate, a kind of rough order of magnitude pricing exercise that we had built into the schedule at a certain point before we're getting into the more detailed estimate. So yeah, we would ask that question: is there a premium to do this? My guess is yes, because if you look at, say this middle top image,
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
you're buying a column that's longer than you would if this was
Yeah.
sitting at grade, right? But it's the same footing for the column.
It's a deep foundation is gonna be more money, but how much more is the $1 million question? So I
But
think
would you be able to estimate, would it be cheaper to fill in the ravine or do this? I just,
We could probably estimate that. I mean, if you go back to the plan, it's possible that you could fill this and up to a point where you have a more conventional foundation. And I think we can talk through those things with our structural engineer and with our estimator to see. This area, by the way, we're only talking about a couple of feet,
yeah, it's
Yeah,
not
that's
big.
right? This corner of the property, if I go back to the grading plan, you can see the color gets darker as it gets deeper. So
thicker,
this is
yeah.
pretty light. We're talking maybe 2 to 3 feet over in
Yeah.
this corner. It's not much.
De
So
minimis.
that's it. It's here where it gets a little bit steeper, and it's not steep the way that those precedent photos that I'm showing you are. It's
a softer-
pretty
it's a
gentle.
slope.
Yeah, which when I looked at this topo map, I thought, wow, that's, I'm gonna feel like I'm at the edge of a precipice, but
Mhm.
it doesn't feel that way. It's pretty gentle going down there. So I don't think it's gonna be a major premium. But
I
we'll
think too,
have-
if you fill in too much, you start taking away a lot of the character that you have with that gradation, with the topography.
Yeah, but if we filled just under the footprint of the building,
Yeah,
I
You
think
would-
you could still get that feeling of the building kind of being right at the
Okay.
edge of something. I think it's a little more dramatic when you're literally sort of cantilevering out over the forest floor, but I
okay.
think you could, from inside the building, I think you could achieve the same thing if you were to fill that area.
So if I remember correctly, you had some indication of an amphitheater like over that one yellow, yes, there it is. Okay, so
Yeah, I
you
don't.
would
it's
still
very difficult to
have
see.
that effect with the
Yeah, I
amphitheater.
think so. And I think there's enough level area here potentially to even have some usable outdoor space that is contiguous with the library on that side. Obviously, you've got, tons of potential on the south side of the building for
Gotcha.
usable outdoor space. So in this scenario, we've got the community room here, which is very visible, it's very public, it's close to parking, it's easily accessible off hours. It has potential for direct connection out to, pretty substantial outdoor space that could be used
Mhm.
for a variety of functions. And then a little bit of access to outdoor space from the library, from adult and children. These corners, we were sort of hinting at maybe there are porches, sort of like Norwell. There's a point where you can actually get outside undercover.
Green porch.
Yeah, well, those two porches in Norwell are hugely popular. Both the screen porch and the open porch, because you're still in the library, but you are outside and you're enjoying that context, and it's totally secure. Like you can't
Yeah.
leave, you can't get from that porch down to grade.
Mhm.
And it's kind of a special place, I think. And so I think this lends itself to those kinds of things. And so we see some potential here that I think we could get excited about in a way that's very different from the designs that we were looking at previously, which were on the common. It's just a very different kind of setting. And so I think there's some potential here, I guess, is what the message is.
Okay.
My concern about cantilevering things is energy costs. Cause it's all that much more exposure that way. And I think that would be raised to the committee as well.
Although that can work on our behalf if we have solar panels, if you have all that glass, you're gathering the energy through the solar panels, so that could work to our benefit.
Yeah, we have good orientation for solar there.
So that would help.
Yeah.
The energy, because that works, and is dramatic with all the glass.
Yeah.
If that were not glass, we'd be like looking at a prison.
Yeah, no, you need the glass. I mean, like,
The glass makes it, the glass makes
Makes
it.
it work.
like
Yeah.
Eastham, like Norwell, I think we would put glass where it counts.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't think we can afford to make it all glass. We need some walls
Yeah.
to put books on.
Yeah.
The exterior walls,
Yeah.
definitely.
No, I was thinking more from underneath
The
the
under-
exposure,
We would
yeah.
have to insulate the underside, yeah.
Okay,
the-
now you were on your way to talking about MacArthur.
Yeah, and so the point I wanted to make is, first of all, with the information that we got from you, we learned a lot about that building, including the 2022 renovation. It's a 14,000, let's call it 14,500 square foot footprint on 2 levels, the main level and a basement level. It looks like there may be a small attic space in this end, but not very big. So all told, it's about a 28,000 square foot building on a square footage basis. I think it would be a terrible library for the 21st century. You immediately, when you walk in the doors, you are up a half a flight of steps to the main level. This is not a universally accessible building. They didn't make those in the 50s. And I think it's so fundamental that it's impossible to undo, and you would always be fighting that. So the first thing you have to do when you walk in is go up a flight of steps or take the lift that gets you up half a flight of steps. And I think that's a terrible way for a public building to be. So I think it's fine as a school. It seems like it meets their needs. The other thing is half of the square footage is in the basement with window wells and difficult accessibility and egress.
But it's a 2-story school.
It's a 2-story school that is half buried. So it's like someone stepped on a 2-story building. The
Okay, I guess that
one
was
whole
only
level
upstairs.
is below grade. It's like 2/3 below grade. And it has basement windows with window wells. So that I didn't get into the building, but I
Delightful.
can't imagine that the quality of the space down there is great. Maybe it works very well
Incredible that the building
for them,
could
but
be
I think
used.
for a new library, it would not be, I don't think, a particularly suitable building, aside from all the other issues. I mean, there are accessibility issues, there are structural code issues, there are energy code issues, I think down the line, there's going to be a lot that has to be invested in that. It's a change of use to go from a school to a library. That triggers certain code upgrades that you don't have to do if it's just going to continue as a school. So I think the deck is stacked against us in terms of reusing that building, not to mention the fact that the NBLC won't consider it. So that gets us to, would you ever tear it down? If you tear it down, obviously, it opens up a whole other, a pretty wide range of options, frankly, for where the building goes. We'd have total freedom on that site, and there's no question we could come up with a great arrangement for the library, but it's hard to make the case to demo that building when it's a 28,000 square foot building that's perfectly adequate for the town. That was recently renovated, and it's a school for special need kids. The optics
What
are
is
not
the
great.
cost per square foot now to demo a building?
To demo it? I mean, it's the biggest cost is going to be abatement.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. We'd almost have to tent the building and take it down.
Yeah, I mean, demo costs, frankly, are not that high. knock it down, cart it off. It's not,
Approximately.
I don't know. I'd want to go back and look at past estimates that we've.
Yeah, because that alone would probably be.
That's an added
yeah,
cost.
Absolutely.
And then
probably.
again, time.
Yeah.
Jay, do you have any idea what the income stream is from that lease that we have with
No
Bridgewater?
idea.
But that's the other point is there's an income stream there because for
Right.
the town, because it's rented. And then that would be lost. So I think that's another point.
That and the optics alone would just kill it.
Oh, horrible, horrible.
You know, assuming that it is continuing to be used as a school, there's certainly the potential for, you know, communication and synergy with an adjacent library.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
Yeah.
we host, you know, day programs from many of the, we have groups from day programs come in all the time. And
Homeschoolers, do you have homeschoolers?
we don't have a group of homeschoolers per se, but we see, yeah, I mean, you know, it's the
Yeah.
sort of thing that having a school building adjacent and, you know, whatever their facilities interiorly might be, we could have some kind of synergy.
Yeah, we have that situation at the North Dartmouth Library. It's right next to an elementary school, and it's a really great relationship. There's a little path through the woods that connects the buildings, and it's that kind of reciprocity is really nice.
I just want to be clear because I'm understanding that there's a force out there to pressure reuse of that building. So the MBLC won't fund it. We would trigger a number of code issues. It's not accessible, that's all triggered. And the starting place to me, although it may not be as salient to other listeners, the starting place is it's not a good layout for a library.
Half of it's
No.
underground.
Yeah, so
Yes.
that's, but I think other people are looking at, we have this great building, we need to reuse it.
Right.
You're hearing that a
Yep.
little?
Yeah, although it's always just a general public, they don't know all the nuances that you just talked about.
Yeah.
I'll bet you half of them don't know half the building's underground. To
Mhm.
to
I've been
contemplate a
in it and I didn't
library
know that.
with half of it underground is ridiculous. So I think that's, you know, we have to put together, obviously a fact sheet that would explain why that's not a good idea.
Mhm.
And I do think money, whatever we can come up with in terms of money will be very important. Plus the fact the state's not gonna fund
The
it.
fact that it doesn't qualify for the MBLC
Right,
grant is
that
kind of a
alone-
deal
Correct.
breaker.
that in and of itself should
I mean-
disqualify it, right? But in the notes, I noticed in the minute notes, it says in the minute notes that and we have to correct that the money can be used for construction or renovation. So we have to correct that, because if people read those notes, they're gonna be misled.
In which.
I think Jane said she,
Oh,
one of the
Jane
thoughts.
said that,
she
yes.
thought, but,
So we
Yeah.
need to somehow,
I believe that was under the
Jane said the
conditions.
grant would allow renovations or new construction. We need to somehow get in the minutes that while that was her thought at the time, that it was, that
Well, it'll
turned
be
out
in
not
for
to be,
tonight,
not to
yeah.
be, that's not,
Yeah.
not to be accurate, not for this project.
Yeah.
So that,
Right.
and they could be looking at that and thinking, why not? Why
Mhm,
not try it?
mhm.
But that's the fact that it's
And-
underground plus no money.
And there are probably some people out there who are saying, well, then just let this grant go and we'll do it another way. Like they
There
said
are.
20 years ago.
There are.
No.
Okay. So I think that we have to be realistic about what the forces are against us. And so when we present to the select board, to make that picture very, very clear of what the pluses and minuses are and how many more minuses there would be in considering use of that building.
Mhm.
Plus you're gonna displace a school for disabled children.
Oh, yeah. And then
Correct.
it's politically unpopular.
The optics are terrible across. the
Awful.
board.
They
Yeah.
are
Very,
terrible.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I think we just need, and that has to come from us. That's not coming from Matt. That really needs to come from us to say,
absolutely.
right? Okay.
As
Yeah.
part of the review, the library board looked at this as an option.
Correct.
And here are the reasons why it proved not to be anything that should be considered.
Uh-huh.
First is money,
Uh-huh.
and then we can add everything else, the school, kids, everything else. But this whole project is driven by the fact that it's gonna risk money under certain circumstances.
Yeah.
That's not one of them.
I
Right,
think we have to use the same method we use when we pick the site to say, here's what we have, here's why this does not work, which leads to this. You know,
Right.
keep going, use that same method, and I think we're gonna get buy-in from most of the naysayers.
Although we don't wanna have the new site considered the default site. You know, because that is a
No.
great site. But
No, not saying it's a default site, it's just that
better, it's a better site,
it's a better site, correct,
yeah, on parcel 60.
correct.
okay. Alrighty. All right, Matt, did you have any?
No, that's it for us. I mean, we've tried to pivot pretty quickly here in the last week and try to get ahead of this a little bit and, think about some options. So we feel like, I mean, the options frankly are pretty limited,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
I think this corner of the site is about where we think you can do it. And now that doesn't mean that we can't play around with the shape and arrangement of the pieces and that we will continue to do, but I think our recommendation would be that this is the right place to put it. The other thing that I didn't say, but is worth considering is, I think it's important to think about this, or in the back of our minds, think, could this work even with the MacArthur School building gone? Let's say 20 years from now, it does
Yes.
get torn down for some reason. And does this building in this location make sense in that context? Certainly it doesn't when you put it behind that building and all of a sudden that building goes away and then the library is revealed. But I think in the front, it's responding to the MacArthur building in a way. It's respectful of the MacArthur building, but it's not relying on the MacArthur building for its position, I think, other than wanting to
Yeah.
be kind of free and clear of it.
Route 28 really is the position, not the MacArthur building.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the orientation.
Yeah, and the other thing about this, when I think of this, these buildings playing together and town hall and the state police barracks across the street, they're all brick buildings, or I don't know what our surfaces will be, but it's starting to create that sense of a community gathering space and a central location for people to be, other than the Seaside Festival or the craft fair or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's like, there's a reason to go there. There-
Yeah, the Seaside Festival people are gonna be extremely happy because they keep their.
Right, yeah.
Hey, Matt, I just want to thank you. I think you guys have pivoted. You have done a great job moving quickly and showing us something that's really positive. And I think a lot to work with. I for one, really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, John.
So Matt, going kind of like what Tom's saying, don't want to put words in your mouth, but does that location give you more opportunities than the middle of nowhere? Because you got other things to play with the ravine, so we can make it a positive where we're actually getting more opportunities to do something than just a flat land?
I think so. I mean, it's sort of chalk and cheese, those two sites, right? They're so different that it's hard to say one is better than the other. They're just different. I mean, I think this site, in my view, could be a little more exciting, a little more special, a little more memorable than the other site. And so for us as designers of public space, that is appealing. But that's not to say that I don't think it's better. It depends
Yeah,
on.
so I guess the only reason why
Different.
it's different, the only reason why I say it is because maybe thinking about the naysayers that said, oh, look, we got them from 50 to 60 and then out the door. It could be 50 to a better opportunity on 60.
Mhm.
So thank you very much, but we really found something that can be very positive as opposed to let's wipe it clean and not do anything.
Mhm.
I mean, I think you could spin it that way.
Well, that's what I'm saying,
Yeah.
because I think there
it's
could be statements that say off of 50, gonzo, don't need it, especially if you
Well, it's
can't
also
reuse the
respect
garden.
for, it's respect for 50 and
Right.
respect for those who came before us and who thought about the future of the town. And to say, basically, oops, we didn't know. And okay, so we'll go with the hand we're dealt. And this is some nice opportunity.
I think one point you could make that might help that argument too, is that on parcel 50, the library's success was in a way tied to the town common project.
Right.
Not totally, but it's better with the town common there, and the
Mhm.
town common meaning like a fully developed landscape that's considered in combination with the library, and those two things working together. Without that, it feels a little bit half done, and it required a lot in advance of the town common project. A building over there required a lot of initial investment in landscape to make it feel like it was not just kind of out in this vast space. It needed something to anchor it. So I think you could
Yeah.
argue that for that reason, this decoupling the library from the town common project in a way helps the library.
Mhm.
I agree. I think this is gonna also give the town input, it's gonna push the town to finally decide what they really want to do with the town common and this big open space. And I think this is gonna be a driving force in that. So it's opened up, some windows for the town here.
It will make the process less complicated.
Maybe, but it may, those restrictions may apply to that common use too, so.
Yeah, I agree,
The way I'm
Judy.
Hearing
I-
it is,
Yeah, I
That's
agree,
great.
Judy, but I think what they'll do now is they'll make more of an effort to figure out how
Oh.
to work within Article 97 or move it out of Article 97 to really do something with a common.
yeah,
I like the decoupling idea where it,
Correct.
Yeah.
you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It can stand on its own. It's in a nice location that can
Yeah, it's beautiful.
prosper for years to come.
yeah.
Yep.
Okay, anybody else on the committee have any questions, comments for Matt? Okay, well, I have seen over the last, it's 2 weeks, but I feel like we've been in contact like every other day. Um,
Within 2 weeks.
I'm so impressed with, I even when you put it up there went, ooh, just to see the massing transferred onto a new site and, yeah, I'm very impressed and thankful to you and your team.
Great.
Cause I know there are other people back there.
And-
Exactly, yeah.
if you- I don't know if you live in Yarmouth. I don't know if you know the history of Yarmouth. They are not really supportive of funding public. You have to fight for it.
Okay.
You really have to fight for it
Yeah.
because they're very stingy when it comes to, plus, as Dorcas pointed out 2 weeks ago, we have water hanging over our head and a new school.
Yeah.
So this is the third item on the public, on the capital project. So we have to make a really.
Municipal water? There's a municipal.
No,
water.
no, it's wastewater.
Oh, wastewater.
Yeah,
Wastewater.
wastewater. So we have to make a really compelling case. Really compelling, because there are issues and there,
There.
whether we had done this or not, there was gonna be a bunch of people that said, well, chair the.
Well, chronologically, this is first because,
But
Yeah.
don't forget, the water we have a statutory obligation to pay that. So
Yes.
unless you wanna go to jail, we're gonna pay it.
yes, we are.
And it's a lot of money. But even the chair of the council, when this first came up, remember, Tracy said, oh, I'm perfectly happy with what we have. That was one of the first things out of her mouth. You're gonna find a lot of people that have that attitude, because they love their little libraries.
You're very familiar with that
Yeah,
attitude.
yeah, no, and they love it. They love the people that work here. And match that with the pressure to pay for other things.
Yeah.
So that's what you're gonna be up against.
Yeah, money is
Yeah.
huge. Yep. Yeah, but losing money is huge too. And
Yes, that's the only advantage of this is it's other people's money.
yes, some of it.
Some
Yeah,
of it.
some of
yeah.
it, right.
The other
OPM.
thing that's lost on a lot of people when it gets to the point where you're talking about it in town meeting is taxpayer dollars fund the MBLC grant. So Yarmouth taxpayer dollars paid for the Yarmouth grant,
Mhm.
or if they don't accept it,
Because someone
the
else-
Whitensville Library and Northbridge
It's gonna get
grant,
it.
someone else
Yeah.
is gonna get that money, so. Turning down the grant means you're giving up on tax dollars that you have contributed personally.
I think we really need to drive that home
Yes,
because
yeah.
we're fighting for funding too, so
Yeah.
everyone's fighting the same
Yeah.
pockets.
Yeah.
It's gonna be tough.
Yeah.
That will be very tough. We have big competition for water.
It's not gonna get cheaper in the future.
No, absolutely. not.
And if you have a grant, I don't know what percentage.
It's up to 35%.
That's a significant dollar.
I thought it was, I don't wanna say, I thought it was higher than that, but I don't know.
Andrea mentioned it could be for Yarmouth 40 to 50%.
Yeah, that's.
So those are
The
significant.
the
dollars.
75% number that you mentioned, that's a special.
That they can't go beyond.
They can't go beyond that, and that's, the 75% is for the kind of special small projects like Shutesbury, which is their pilot, their small community pilot program got a 75% grant, but Shutesbury, I mean, to your point, Shutesbury goes back to 2010. It failed at town meeting. It was a tie vote, actually, which I've never heard of.
Small town.
We went to the state Supreme Court and they lost. They were not able to accept the grant. It's gonna open this year and it's smaller and it costs twice as much.
Yeah,
Actually,
yeah.
Uh,
Well, that's where we are. I mean, we're 20 years down from when this was.
we're talking about new library for, well, I've been here 52 years.
Mhm.
And for the vast majority of 52 years, they've been talking about a new library.
Yeah.
Or a consolidated
Yeah,
library.
yeah.
And I believe through the chair, this particular funding is not guaranteed every year. So
No,
in the
no.
future,
Guaranteed every
the
year.
availability of funds might not be there.
Right. Okay, so our next item is programming updates, but I think we've seen as many programming updates as we can see because we got a new outline of the building. So in terms of programming for the library building, all right, not
Not
programming.
programming, right, not library programming. The program is what's used to describe what needs to be in the building.
John,
So the only, based on, again, tremendous amount that Matt and his team has done to go forward. How do we make sure we're prepared for October and what comes next? And are we still meeting October, going in front of the select board to?
oh yeah, so,
And because
Actually, I
that's gonna be right around the corner and.
no, I was gonna report on that too, because in the interest of the timeline, I had suggested that maybe we could go before the select board. Well, actually, I was willing to go the other night and speak in public comment, but I was advised not to do that on Tuesday.
I know, I
was
remember.
trying to try to get.
When is the town meeting? November 17th?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, but we're not going to be an
I know
article in that,
but-
but, so, but Matt's not available on the next date, which is September 23rd, and I think it's essential that he be there. So
You're
we're
looking
with that day,
I think
so
it's October 9th. isn't it?
7th, maybe,
Seventh.
7th, yeah, October 7th. So,
In front of BOS.
yes,
Board of Selectmen.
that'll be our progress report to them. So now we're kind of drifting into outreach planning and,
I have to excuse me.
sure
I
thing, Jay, thank you
apologize.
for coming.
Am I to assume there's a consensus that you're moving forward with? The committee has made a consensus to move forward with the other
Nice.
part of this parcel.
Oh, yes, so we're not going to actually vote on this, but we're going with the new information we have, the
Okay.
direction we had
I wanna make
from
sure I have it
Bob.
right.
Yeah, so we just have to keep going. We can't say,
Very
know,
good.
we've accepted the site, so that was our vote, and the site hasn't changed.
Correct.
So we're good with our
good.
voting status.
All right.
Okay,
Just making sure.
thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
A lawyer
Good night.
reviewed that determination that our site was 50 and 60.
Oh,
It
yes.
was never-
Correct.
It was never any
No,
doubt
it
about
was,
that.
it
Okay.
was definitely both.
Okay.
Yep, yep, that was fine. So we go to BOS and it's select board now, on October 7, the following weekend is the Seaside Festival, where we have space on the planning board table that we can just cozy up to. Now, Mindy said she left things, right? She left a trifold, she told me.
She showed me a trifold, but she didn't leave it with me.
Not with me.
Oh, she called me like right before the meeting to make sure I knew the
Just think there's something
trifold
on
was
Python.
here and,
Is it on the copier maybe? I didn't see it when I made copies.
okay. Well, my thought was if we did 2 days at the Seaside Festival, it runs 10 to 5, but I thought 10 to 4 is good enough for us. And then we could divide it into 3 2-hour shifts to staff the table and then do our next public meeting on the Tuesday after Columbus Day. And then it just jams all the outreach together and we'll be outreach crazy and we'll get it done. Of course, now we have this issue of what outreach are we actually doing and what are we showing people and what will be ready for them. So I'm not sure that idea is going to hold up, but this is,
Nothing.
wow, did she leave it in the children's room or?
So look,
Because she called me specifically to tell me that she was leaving it. Okay, thank you.
Judy, when are you going in front of the selectmen, the 7th? Did you
The
say?
7th. Yeah, so it would be that,
October
then
7th.
that weekend. So if we go to
Although
this,
you will get a strong sense
right,
that night whether they're gonna support this or not.
exactly.
I think we're gonna be prepared, but you're gonna get a strong sense that at that night, whether they're gonna entertain moving to site 60 and even though it's gonna look the same and those two sites are considered.
Yes,
So
that's what I was thinking was we're presenting on the 7th and we're going to get their direction. And then that's going to guide
whether we do a Saturday and whether we do, yeah. I agree.
and what the content is, yeah. But I think actually their timing is good to get the feedback from the select board
Yep.
and also to have it before we're doing outreach, because you don't want to do outreach and then say, no, that's not what.
Well, they may
going to
tell you
happen."
that Tuesday night,
Exactly.
put your pencils down, you know.
Yep.
Thanks, but put your
Yeah.
pencils down.
I guess Susan, from like what you were saying, do we really then need to make a numbers case as to
Pass
if you
it
can't
around,
fit
maybe?
into MacArthur, not
I
enough
think-
money
I
in
think
the
absolutely.
ABC.
I think
All
that's the
money-based.
conversation- That's come to Jesus meeting.
Yeah.
Tuesday night. If
Oh,
we
yeah.
don't convince the board that this is worth pursuing, if they signal that night that they, because you certainly don't want to put it on the town meeting with a 5-0 vote from the board of selectmen.
Yeah.
So you'll get a strong
Exactly.
sense
Exactly.
and.
So I thought
I
that
agree,
sequence was
yeah.
good.
So that night's gonna be everything on the table.
Spot on.
Okay,
I'll let you know.
so
Another, the other places have like environmental.
Vicky, could you speak up so that we can all hear?
Oh, I was afraid that we would have to choose another site now before
Yeah,
they
we
showed
can't.
us this.
Yeah.
We
presentation.
can't.
We
No.
can't.
Yeah,
Can't.
because they had endangered species and other.
Well, we
species.
can't
Yeah,
and preserve the
can't go back.
grant.
We
Yeah.
chose another location on the site that we had selected.
Yeah,
Can't go back.
so. Yeah, anyway. So last time I said, let's just keep going with, the idea that we, what these materials really are for the committee, so I wouldn't want
You-
those out.
okay,
Yeah,
no
thank
worries.
you. Thank you. Because they're still in progress. So the idea is that we're going to have our materials as ready as possible so we could just hit go, depending on what was said to us. Now, obviously, if we like this kind of thing, then it's going to be easy because the only gap would be from Tuesday to Friday to get somebody to run the copies. That's not a big deal. The signage is just going to have the QR code on it, so that would be a good way to go too. So I think it's not as complicated as it used to be in the old days. So then the other thing is, Mindy dug up all these different graphs showing usage and progress, and she said to me, the first three were her preference, but she was showing us all of them, and that her spot would be, oh, she's got them laid out here anyway. I thought she had, yeah, she said she thought the first three were the best. Okay. But she went ahead and printed all, what, 2, 4, 6, she has 7, right? 8. And, but she has 5 in here so that we could select different ones.
If we didn't like this.
Correct. Like, or if we thought we wanted to make more of a different point or emphasize a different point. And then the other thing she was looking at was,
The graphs are, there are occasionally places where the graphs need a little bit of an asterisk because they were affected by the pandemic. And so,
you're reading my.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay, but that was, so library card usage, I guess, was specifically the one, or new cards, right?
Yeah, right.
Right, and borrowing of physical books, I think, was one where it dropped slightly because of pandemic,
Okay.
and because of
People-
borrowing habits.
Okay, so people went out and got library cards and now it's time for their renewal and they're not.
I renewed mine.
So those, yeah, that's this one, registered borrowers.
I guess my first one, fiscal year can be all over the place. I mean, what is our fiscal year?
Right.
Maybe you could show this too, that they're using the Leonard room more, like double the people.
Isn't that amazing?
What's the fiscal year? Is it January? When is the fiscal year on 10 AM?
The town of
Oh,
Yarmouth
November.
starts July 1st.
July 1st.
Like,
Yeah.
it's almost like the federal year.
Yeah.
So, and that's where we report statistics. This data is pulled from our report to the state, which covers that
Okay, you
that
probably
year.
should note that someplace. The dates of the fiscal year is July to June.
June
Right.
30th.
I think all of this material has to go back to the outreach committee to really, get into
Refine
it.
it.
Yeah.
Can I make
Fine.
one graphic comment?
Sure.
For the graphs, I think it would be, since you're always using the same 3 colors and the same 3 years,
Yep.
the same color should always be assigned to the same year.
Yes.
Right.
Because it's confusing to read the
Yes,
diagram.
yes, it is.
Dark blue is 2021 in one of them, but it's.
Oh, yeah.
2021 in
Yeah,
the other
Another
one.
one, yep.
That one.
Okay. Yep.
This is why you're a design professional.
The other,
We just have Canva.
the other thing I'll add, oh, my daughter loves Canva. Jenny Wilson is not the designer on the team, it's Lydia.
Well, we needed
So
to,
we can give you the updated
yes,
headshots for that.
yeah.
And this makes me realize I need a new mugshot. Or shave my beard off, which my wife would be happy with.
Yes, so we will fine tune it. I guess general questions, though, is it too dense? Yes. So maybe 3 graphs.
Yeah.
And,
People aren't gonna spend enough time to try to figure out what they're looking at,
uh-huh,
and 5 graphs to,
Okay, have you ever done this before?
yes.
Yeah, so when you man the table, they come up and they'll ask a question. They'll pick this up. They won't even look at it and they'll say, "Ma'am, why did you do the blah blah?"
Oh, yeah.
And then they'll go home maybe.
Are you
but
gonna
the-
tear down the South Yarmouth Library?
Yeah, the interaction is, they walk up to the table and have questions.
Yeah.
They don't even-
Yeah,
they
no,
don't
I
look
just
at
did
it.
the night out.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Also, instead of relying on people to figure out how to interpret the graph, that they may or may not do
Understand what
correctly,
it is, right?
it might be good to have a combination of graphs, but also just a list of bullets, Our circulation has increased
expertise.
150% in the last 2 years. And, community room space needs have tripled since
Requests
2
have
years ago.
tripled, yep.
Things like that, I think is easier for people to look at very
If the
quickly and
narrative's
say,
done,
oh, that makes sense.
Like
Yeah.
this, like some people might not understand, like this is double, like in 4 years, they need more, like double
Requests.
the bookings. Yeah. For the room usage, so they need more space.
Yeah, it's so pleasant down there too. Okay, so, I'm gonna. Are we all here? No, Mindy's not here. So I'll send out an email so we can have another, outreach meeting, but, I'm so thrilled that Mindy was able to get us this far down the road. And then we can fine tune it. And thanks for your comments. Anything else on that? We talked before about, we didn't want to be too negative, but we want to demonstrate the need. We need to do that. And since we don't have her sign, I guess maybe we're all set with that. And the trifold design input. Okay. Just a little pat on my own back. We have not gone to 8 o'clock once. So,
Is that a hint for a motion to adjourn?
thank you. Unless anyone else has anything for the good of the cause.
I
Oh,
move that-
John does.
I guess to be clear, so is Matt and his team going to come up with any preliminary costs associated with redoing MacArthur or anything like that? For the select board meeting? Ballpark frame of reference or something?
Well, we've kind of kicked around different numbers in these various exchanges. And it's like a tenfold difference between doing just an engineering. Like Tom and I could walk through, go. But we have no status, so, and then Matt could go through with his structural engineer. But then if we go to the big one, then I think I heard the number 50,000.
I'm just saying,
It's a chunk of
order
meat.
of magnitude between a rehabilitation of MacArthur versus a brand new building. We should be able to have an order of magnitude that says, here's all the reasons, but by the way, it's more costly. Or the same cost or something, because they're gonna, I mean, from what Dorcas was saying, there's something in people's mind that it's gonna be cheaper.
Of course
Until
it
they
is.
see,
It's there.
but,
so-
well, but until they see something that says it's not cheaper, or equal, and you have all these other ones, you haven't erased that thought in their head.
Correct.
I mean, we can have our estimator give us some ballpark numbers, but without anything to back it up or for him to base that number on, it's pure speculation, right? I mean,
But-
every building is unique
Right.
and
Yeah,
But
don't
as a
forget-
rule of
he's gonna
thumb,
be like-
renovation is not generally
It's
cheaper
cheaper
than
than
building
new.
new.
No,
Generally, it's not.
It's not. If anything, renovation is more
And don't
expensive
forget,
than
they're
building.
speculating too.
Yeah.
They're speculating that it's gonna be cheaper,
right.
and it's not.
Yeah.
But you've got,
It's
I
not.
think you have to have something. If you don't address it, it's gonna linger and it will,
Yeah.
people say, he didn't say anything because it's actually cheaper.
Mm.
So I think you have to say, and you can say ballpark, these are estimates. Generally, a building of that size to take out the asbestos, $500 a square foot, so
Yeah.
that's that. New wiring, building that size, and then you've got to do the whole interior.
Yeah.
And it's, and then, given the location and the style of the building, half of it's below ground. That's hardly suitable
Right.
for a library in the 21st century.
Yeah.
And give them some information as to why they've got a legitimate reason to reject it.
The humidity could like ruin lots of.
Yeah, I mean, and it's always gonna be money.
Yeah.
And so you don't wanna give up a grant for something new. And that's the biggest thing. If we go to that building, we're gonna lose the grant. Put that aside. If we decided to do it, here's what it's gonna cost you.
Mhm.
And you're gonna end up with a crummy building. It's never gonna be a great library. I think you have to give them something. I really do, because I think lacking that, I think you're gonna give anyone that's sitting in that audience a reason to reject the library.
Okay, so I wanna, Jen, do you want to chime in here? Is she,
it's right there.
I'm here.
Thomas,
I'm here.
that's-
okay,
What do you want me to chime in on? Getting an estimate on what that
Yeah.
would cost if you had to renovate? I mean, yeah, I mean, other than the fact that it would completely wipe out the grant. I mean,
Right.
that's the big thing.
That's a big
I guess the question would be, do you want to, I think it's, and Matt, you can weigh in on this. I feel like it's a little bit difficult to put a solid price to what it would cost without knowing the condition of the structure, the condition of the mechanical, electrical, plumbing, what there is for
Envelope.
asbestos and all that jazz. So I feel like Matt's team would still need to go in and look at that. And that's
Or
about
you
a,
can make-
Assumption.
Again, you can make the assumption,
Make,
it
make
all has to be
assumption, make
replaced.
assumptions,
Given the edge,
yeah.
given the edge of the building, I don't think anything in there is gonna be usable. So.
I can
would
tell
do
you one
worst case Scenario, I would do absolute worst case scenario. Because
Okay.
I can tell you, one thing from a federal contracting side. Now, I didn't do a lot of construction, I did more services, but anytime you try to rehab an old building on the federal side, it was always much more expensive per square foot than to do new construction. Always,
Yeah.
invariably. I rarely saw one that didn't.
This is also true.
That's right.
Yeah.
the other thing is, it's really difficult to take, and I think Matt, or, you know, Judy, you might have hit on this at the very beginning. It's very difficult to take a building that is compartmentalized for a classroom scenario and turn it into an open space library. I mean, you effectively have to gut the building.
Right.
So
Exactly.
that's
Exactly.
going to be a really
what they
big
would be
piece of it
doing.
too.
Exactly.
That's
Right.
what
And
they'd be
then
doing.
the structural integrity goes away, and then, the other day Matt was sharing with us the load requirements
issues,
for
Libraries
library,
versus
for
schools.
meeting spaces, yeah, and this, I mean, those library,
In fact, every
the
one of those-
load, they're pretty
Schools
new,
generally were 50 pounds a square
Right.
foot.
and they're
live
new.
load. Libraries are 150, so it's a 3 times.
Yeah.
Cost. And then,
You'll
Yeah.
notice why all the books in this building are actually in the portions of the building that have been built since
Yes.
1979.
because it's pretty- But, and every one of those actions has got a dollar sign, and that's
Yeah.
what the Board of Selectmen has to hear. And that's what the audience has
The
to hear.
older
For those,
floors can handle them?
We keep the DVDs in the old part of the building because
Oh.
they're light.
Got
and as Tom said, invariably, it's gonna be more expensive
Yeah.
for a crummy product.
I think, so I'm imagining then 2 things. One is a list of all of the things, again, speculation, but a list of all the considerations. It would need envelope upgrades to meet energy code. It would need structural upgrades to meet structural code plus the needs of a library. It would need, I don't know about mechanical and fire protection because that was redone in 2022. But
Sure.
they're absolutely gonna be ADA accessibility
Yep.
requirements. They're gonna be life safety requirements.
Energy upgrades,
Right.
definitely.
Energy code
Mhm.
upgrades for sure. Plumbing code changed pretty dramatically in
Yeah.
Massachusetts
Just
this
to-
There's
year.
gonna be abatement issues as well in some cases.
Yeah, and there's
Especially-
abatement irrespective of renovation, but the
Correct.
abatement for
Yeah.
demo is gonna be cheaper than abatement. for
Correct.
renovation.
For demo, yes, but not
Yeah.
for renovation.
So I think we can put together a list of assumptions about what would have to
Right.
happen.
And.
And then we can get
ballpark
from our
figures.
estimator a ballpark that, based on all this, we think a reasonable cost per square foot for budgeting is X. And if
And
you,
emphasize
you
the
have to
building.
add that to the $9 to $10 million you're giving up from the state.
And
At least.
that assessment is not covered by the grant.
Right.
So that would
Correct.
have to be
So
covered.
just said you can
9
have-
million,
Yeah,
50,000.
But even the assessment is, yeah, so that has to
Lost
come,
revenue from the lease and
yes,
so, I mean, but I think like Susan, if they don't see numbers that clearly say we're equal or we're losing money, they're gonna,
Well, we're definitely gonna lose money because we're giving up the grant.
well,
That's a given.
Right.
So this is on that.
okay, so the question here then, what the question here is, are we asking Odendello to do some kind of assessment, which is then gonna come out of our 150 from town? Yeah, that's gonna come out of the town meeting approved dollars. That won't come out of just to prove the point. To me, that's the question that's on the table. What are we asking?
I think not. I don't think we want to go there. I think we can do enough education to avoid trying to spend money out of what we've been given from the town and just move forward. I just don't see, I just think it's a waste of time but that's my opinion.
Well, yeah, I would rather see Odenzello doing things on our building than,
Correct. I would
Looking at
rather
that.
see moving forward on new construction and not go down that road.
And ideas, Sean.
So the risk, going back to, I think what Susan said is, if the Board of Selectmen don't support us, that's a risk.
Yeah.
So do we put our heads down, go for the touchdown, and don't really chance being shut down as
Ah.
opposed to, if we don't get
No,
on first
yeah.
base, you can't score.
Mhm. Wait a
True.
minute, you just changed.
Yeah,
Yeah,
my
I
I
point.
know, I know. But anyway, I think the risk is you
Get on
want
first base.
the Board of Selectmen, you want the Select Board's approval, and whatever you need to get the Select Board's approval puts us in a better position to be done. And I don't think it's definitely additional work from Matt's team, but
Yeah.
it shouldn't be a lot to put numbers to the thing that says, hey, here it is, black and white. Let's talk about other stuff now.
Remember, the Board of, no, this is politics. The Board of Selectmen is gonna be reacting to what they're hearing from the public. There are two issues, whether to go forward with the project at all. And then the other buzz out there is, why aren't they using the MacArthur School? I think we have to address both of them, because that's what they're gonna ask you.
Yep.
They're gonna
think-
say, someone's
I
gonna say,
agree.
gee, I got 5 letters saying, why aren't you using the MacArthur School? You have to say, okay, here's why. And you all are gonna make a budget decision, here's the reasons why.
Presumably, the select board has some experience with building projects in the past and,
Well, it's a pretty new group.
Yeah,
Oh,
it
that's-
is, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's a
And
pretty,
Well,
they-
Mark's
they're gonna make
been
the
around.
decision. So,
Mark
Big-
and Tracy,
5.
but
Yes.
we've got new people there.
But the
Yeah,
bottom
and
line is,
Liz and Joyce.
yeah, the bottom line is if you start moving towards MacArthur, you lose the grant. That's
Right.
the bottom line. I
Right,
mean, and that's then basically they're gonna say, well, we can't move forward because the town's not gonna give us another $10 million. It's not gonna happen,
right, because the grant is gonna be about 9 million, right, 9.5 million?
give or take, yeah.
Yeah, so if the
Yeah.
grant is that and it's cheaper to rent, they're gonna, some are saying it will be cheaper to renovate, even if you give up the money, it's gonna be cheaper to renovate. So you
No.
need to be able to say, no, that's not the case at all. It's gonna cost you more money. And I think I don't know how we can get to first base unless you address the obvious stuff, which is, why can't you use an existing building? And 2, then we move on with the new project.
Well, we still know that you've done your homework too. So you're not just throwing it out because you're favoring a new library.
Yeah,
You've done your research, you've
We heard
presented
you.
with
Yeah,
facts
we heard the
and
facts.
numbers, and that's why this is not gonna work. So we did address it.
Right,
It's just not feasible.
and we can say, in our opinion, it won't work. You all may come to a different opinion, but in our opinion, this is not a good use of taxpayer dollars. Always use that phrase. Always use, it's not a good
Well,
use of taxpayer
Okay, so,
dollars.
but,
To-
okay.
to
all
Matt's
right, so
point-
Tom,
To Matt's point, we're gonna get taxpayer dollars back if we keep the grant.
that's,
So-
I put a star next to
Exactly.
that one, yeah.
Yeah, and I think too, if we ask Matt and Unzello and everybody else to go down that path, we're taking time away from them to doing what we really need to be done. And that's my fear. We're already up at crunch time. And if we start asking him to go, I'm sorry, Matt, I shouldn't just say him, you're there, we're asking Unellos to go down these different spokes and take time away for what's the most important
The
thing, which is
focus.
the focus. I hear Judy's point, I hear John's point. I agree. I mean, if we had actual dollars, yeah, it would help. But I think how much effort is that gonna take and how much is it gonna slow them down?
Yeah,
And Matt's too polite to bring it up, but it will cost more on the design team side. I'm sure there'll be another
Correct.
ad service to do that because it is taking time to pull all that together. I get everybody's point. I mean, that's just that's more money.
yeah. John,
So point of reference, as a Water Resource Advisory Committee member, our phase 2 is being looked at to see how funding happens based upon the town, same thing.
Yep.
What's the money, where's all the money coming from? What do we do?
right,
So there's a phase 2 already documented, but it's gonna be revisited since there was no funding mechanism to fund that, times change. So I think the select board is very in tune with all the cost. And if it's a lot cheaper to not do anything. And then you.
However,
However, deferred
There's nothing
maintenance,
else.
deferred maintenance is never cost saving. It just, never.
But you have to educate the public as to why money spent is really positive, and that's the way to do it. But it's, to me, I think if you have to sell the point to advance, then it may be worth making sure we can advance. As much as we think it's a no-brainer, we have to put ourselves in other people's shoes to say, what do they think?
All right, and then the other thing that's hampering us here is there's nobody at this table who has the authority to say, go ahead and do that. That's how we want to spend your money. So we would still need to take this back to town hall if we're saying that we do that. So
But Judy, do you want to talk to town hall tomorrow and see what that would entail to get more detail on that before we, I think we need to get that information from the town.
I can try. I never,
Did the town renovate the building in 2022?
So the owner listed on the drawings is Cape Cod Collaborative. I don't know what that means.
It's the
I,
school.
I'm assuming that it means that they paid for it.
yes,
That's
yeah,
part of the school budget then, right?
probably, yeah. But there was just so much information.
Yeah, and I don't know, I didn't see anything on cost, but it was all new mechanical, HVAC systems, all new sprinkler system, all new lighting and ceilings.
But because they didn't change use, they didn't
They
track.
didn't trigger
trigger
some
any
of the
code
other-
changes.
Yeah,
I thought that they were renting to Bridgewater University and Bridgewater was.
other way around, Bridgewater's.
The other way around.
Town is
Still-
renting to
still-
Bridgewater. Bridgewater is subletting to Cape Cod Collaborative.
Kids
So
Collaborative.
they did the renos to suit their needs for their student
Right.
body.
Bridgewater is Subletting to them.
Yeah.
Yes. So
Let's go this way. If they renovate it, it's public records, there's a cost. Town hall
Exactly.
should be able to tell you
Pull
what that
that.
cost is.
That's what I was going.
Once we have that cost. then
Yeah,
we
that's a
can
good
say,
point.
Well, I went to town hall and that's what I got was all of this information, which is oodles. But then I left it to Matt to go into it.
Thank you so much.
You just asked me to get it. But,
We haven't found cost information, but you're right, it may be in there. We can dig for that.
uh-huh,
I mean, I don't know how much that helps us because that money was invested in 2022. So tearing the building down doesn't make a lot of sense based on that, but I don't know
But
how
you
much
could
that
say in
helps
twenty
us.
twenty-two, we renovated the building with only these minor things, not adjusting for a code change or a change of use. And it already cost us $6 million.
Well, you also may be able to argue that you're gonna lose the benefit of that renovation. Like if we go in there and gut it,
yes,
all that ceiling, the lighting,
Gone.
sprinklers are gonna have to be reworked, mechanical's gonna have to be all
We lose
redone.
that money, but it would give you a sense of what a minor renovation of the building would cost,
It's
let
only-
alone a
it's only
major.
higher than
And it's
that.
only higher than
Yeah.
that. So, I mean, obviously, if it
Yeah.
turns out they spent $3.50, then we don't need to tell them that, but.
all right, so I'll go back to town hall tomorrow and see. I was working with planning, that's who got me there. I thought I was going to be working with the building department, but I was directed there and it yielded a lot of results, but maybe if I can tie the building permits to that location on that date, maybe I can find some money. The other way to track that back, maybe with Cape Cod Collaborative, if they're listed as the owner, then they would have,
It's certainly the budget office, ought to have that, the finance office, ought to have,
ours.
they was writing checks to someone.
Well, no, but Cape Cod Collaborative was.
No, I'm talking our own
If
budget.
they,
office. Some-
No,
that-
I don't think we were.
Oh, that's right, because it was the collaborative.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
right, it wasn't-
Collaborative did,
Right.
Yeah.
spent the money.
So that's why their records might,
Right.
yeah.
It's
It's like when you get your
gotta be a
tenant to
public-
do
It's gotta
renos.
be a
Oh,
public
back
bid.
in someplace,
Yeah,
yeah.
it has to be a public record.
Probably a
Of
Cape
course,
Cod
but I think it's in Cape Cod
Yeah,
Collaborative.
yeah.
I mean, we may have it, but I think they will have it.
Right.
What
Does
I'm
it have to
saying.
be public bid,
Do
or they
you
have
want
public
my
schools?
notes?
Or are they a private
Oh, that'd be
entity?
great.
No, I
Thank
think
you.
They're a private
To
entity.
you later.
Are they private, Tom?
If they're private, I don't know.
The collaborative is, but I think they may be
Oh, it's a
getting some
public
money
entity.
from somewhere.
It's a public,
Uh,
yes, it is. Yeah, I worked
It
for
is?
one for a while, yes. They're made up of member school districts.
Okay,
that's
then
how-
they're getting public money.
Yeah, it was 94-142 authorized that. So,
Okay,
all right, well, now you've broken my record from 7:30.
I've got a 15-minute window.
Yeah.
What else are we talking about?
Do you want the motion?
Drive back to
I
Boston,
think
right?
so.
motion to adjourn.
How long
Alright.
is it, like 2 hours?
Second.
The traffic? Okay.
Suzanne, thank you.
You have to get the vote.
Now we have to
Thanks,
do,
everyone.
we have to, don't go, don't go,
leave
we
yet,
have a
Ken.
roll call, Tom.
Hello, yes, hi.
Aye.
John. Thank you.
My name?
No,
just
voting
say aye.
for
Just say aye.
adjournment,
Adjourn.
We're taking a vote.
voting to
adjourn.
adjourn. Thank you. All right. Opposed, abstained, motion carries.
Bye, guys.
Bye, Tom.
Bye, Tom.
Bye. Hey, Matt, you need anything from Duck? You want anything?
I haven't been down there in so long, I don't even remember what I should ask for. But
Yeah,
I
I
want to
can.
know what video game that is behind you.
Stopping.
Oh,